Check. Microphone check on two. Your mic check on two. Microphone check on two. Mic check. All right.
Fine. Okay. Hello?
their various industries and the country at large. It was also designed to provide a mentorship platform for young and prospective practitioners and to ignite the potential in women towards attaining enviable heights in marketing and management.
Panelists identify the current trends in marketing communications while addressing the career challenges of female marketing executives.
Because women face other challenges that men do not really face. Family challenges, especially in our society, more responsibility is put on women. So how do we create that opportunity? Second thing is that how do you have mentors or people who can actually help them? It's one thing to have competence, but also to build the right character and behaviors that allow you to operate at that level.
The number of women playing in that space is not up to where it should be. So how do we start early? How do we encourage the younger ones to either be better consumers, better brand managers, better in the ecosystem? How do we get women to be involved in that, as opposed to just having the men tell us? So I think it starts from the younger age. If you think about it, there's a lot of technology workshops. There's a lot of hubs.
To engage women, which is, get them to know our brands, consider our brands, and finally purchase our brand.
For a woman, you're empowering the whole generation because of the natural nurturing ability that women have to be able to take care and build and nurture. So I think this digital age makes it more compulsive for us. Now you see more women are more empowered. You don't even need brick and mortar to set up the shop. People are selling online and getting themselves empowered.
In leadership, we're ready to build. We have taken the move.
However, before we go further, I will need to invite, it is important that we have opening prayer. Appreciate Almighty God for today's gathering. On that note, I invite Dominic, who is the assistant brand manager, darling here, to handle that. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everybody. Let us pray. Thank you, our Most High Father in heaven, for today. Thank you for gathering us here against all odds. Thank you for the grace to be here. Thank you for the commute here. Thank you for the people that are here, and thank you for the people who are joining us virtually. Lord, we are grateful. And so, Lord, we ask that you take charge throughout this event, that you come and direct the event and bless it and bestow your grace and honor on it. And may everything go as planned and even beyond expectation in Jesus' name. Lord, we ask for your grace and wisdom for the speakers, and we ask that you take charge over this event as we bless it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. The theme for the 2020 WIMCA conference this year is tagged Generation Equality. And this is in line with the 2020 International Women's Day theme, which is talking about a need to have a balanced equality in our agenda. So before we go further, I would hand over to the DJ to key us into the national anthem. Can we stand, please? Thank you very much, Sir DJ. Please, can you sit? As we move further, I would like to invite the editor-in-chief and CEO of Brand Communicator, Mr. Joshua Ajayi, to give us his welcome address.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you to everyone for coming today, especially to our keynote speaker, the panelists, all the howdies, and of course, all those that are online at the moment. I see a good number of people online. Mrs. Agnes, I can see you. Mrs. Nkiru Olumdeojo, I can see you. Suleiman Ibrahim, I can see you. Mrs. Ifi Dozie, I can see you. Ayodeji Ogunleye, see you. Alima Hadekunle, Oni Holamide, and a good number of people that have joined us online. Thank you. We really appreciate you for joining us at this special edition of the Women in Marketing and Communication Conference and Awards. I warmly welcome to the fourth edition of the Women in Marketing and Communication Conference and Awards, WIMCA. And this is our first virtual edition. As with previous editions, we started 6 years ago in 2014. This is a gathering of great minds, thought leaders, and stakeholders in the marketing and communication industry. For the past editions, the theme of the National Women's Day celebration commemorated every March has always informed the theme of WIMCA. And this year is no different. Hence, the theme for this year's conference is Generation Equality, Imperative Gender Inclusion for the Growth of Brands and Marketing Communication after this year's International Women's Day theme. The topic this is coined from the theme of International Women's Day. The theme is drawn from a notion of individualism, where we play an notion that our individual actions, behaviors, and mindset can have an impact on the larger society. Particularly at the challenges women experience at work, which seems to revolve around two themes: respect and position of the organization, and remuneration. The topic is exploring how women can navigate through the tough terrains to shatter the glass ceilings to attain their potential professionally, especially in the integrated marketing communication industry. As usual, women continue to encounter challenges when it comes to advancing in the workplace and in many facets of the society. Without taking much time, the journey of WIMCA from the day of conception has not been easy, but we bless God for seeing us, for helping us thus far. I want to say a very big thank you to our panelists, our keynote speaker, and our sponsors from Stanbic IBTC to Darling, Domino's, as well as our esteemed partners from Abellini to Slice Media, Elevate Media, Alpha and Jam, Invent Media, who have contributed in no small way to make this conference a huge success. I also say a big thank you to the awesome communication family for working with me side by side to make today a reality. I welcome you all once again, and I urge you to sit back, relax, and have a roller coaster of experience that will positively remain indelible in years to come. Thank you all for coming. The compare. I think we can set the ball rolling. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you so much. Yes. Before we go further, I would like to inform our virtual audience that there's a need to, you can chat with other participants on the chat box. If you have any questions for us, you can throw it on the chat box and then we'll be there to answer you. As we move on to the next program on the agenda, which is the keynote speaker's address, and that is Mr. Victor Benga Afolabi, who is a passionate and visionary leader. He has, in the last 20 years, not only displayed and demonstrated an exceptional knack for turning businesses around, but has also sustainably birthed several businesses, ventures with an unbroken chain of top and bottom line growth across multidisciplinary industries. Victor Benga Folabi is the Chief Executive Officer of Azon Holdings, a diversified business holding company, and the founder of Eco Innovation Center, an enterprise development center for startup and medium and small businesses, who deploy technology and innovation in the area of agriculture, health, healthcare, market access, renewable energy, and fintech. Welcome with me, Mr. Victor Benga Afolabi, to deliver his keynote address.
I see you spin. This right here is the truth. Gang, gang. Use your hands. Just like that.
Technical, please, can you key in?
Good morning, everyone, and thanks for the privilege of being here. This goes to the editor-in-chief of Outsome Communications, in person of Joshua Ajayi, and a good morning to every other guest and panelist that is seated here this morning. I think it's a great opportunity to be having this conversation this morning, and of course to all the online audience who are part of this and who are dialing in virtually to be a part of this year's WIMCA conference organized by Awesome Communications and publishers of Brand Communicator magazine. I say good morning to everyone. I think looking back, I was trying to assess, first time I'll be speaking on something that is a more key area for me, talking about gender equality, gender inclusion, and all that. Not my usual area of strength, where I ordinarily will be able to do give all the examples and run through them without, having to struggle. And this required quite a lot of research. And it gave me the opportunity again to look at what we've done in the last 15, 17, 18 years of running business, diversified, how we worked with our people, how we worked around inclusion. And I must say that it gave an opportunity for reflection. And basically, that's part of what we'll be discussing this morning as we all look at how do we grow our businesses, how do we make a better success of the businesses we run as we think about inclusion. So I think the journey has gone beyond arguing about equality or should women be involved. It's more about inclusion now, and how will inclusion be able to bring significant value to the growth of our brands. So on that note, I will take us through my keynote address for this morning. The next slide. So while we're at this, is there a way I can get a flick or something to run through this so that I'm not saying the next slide and the next slide? Who will help me with that? Is that someone is queued, or I'm just something so it's seamless? Okay, so I'll start with stats. Okay, and so is there a person who will come and sit by my side so I can be tapping the person to switch or something? Okay, so I'll start with the statistics, and I think it's very interesting. You know, when you work on a familiar terrain, if you're talking about brand management and strategy and all that, quite a number of them, I don't have to go back and do quite a lot of research. But for this, it was a very new area, and it opens your eyes to a few things that we're not very conversant with. So I'll do this. Okay, great. And of course, is to look at the stats, look at the statistics. And the stats basically shows the power and the evolution of the modern woman. $20 trillion is what the women control globally in terms of total spending globally. And when you look at the global mega trends, if your strength is in strategy and all that, we're looking at part of the things that are going to be shaping the world in the next 20 to 50 years. 7 mega trends: climate change, urbanization. A major part of what will be shaping global trend, of course, technology and a few other things, is around changing demographics. Now, when we look at the conversation around changing demographics, we'll find that a major part of this demographics that is changing is also about the issue of gender balance and gender roles. And which means that, of course, why it's called mega trend is these are the trends that will shape what our world will look like in a few years to come. In a research that was done, and I'll show us a few of those research, about 30% of small and growing businesses, and I'll tell you the imperative of this, is currently being driven and handled by women. And it's women giving leadership in here, and we'll see how we'll tie all this together. The interesting part is also about the decision making, and I think this is critical for marketing people, and for people in brand communication, and for people who ideate. When we find out that 80% of the people who make purchase decisions or influence purchase decisions are women, the question is, why are they not the one coming up with all the strategies for our brands? Because finally, it's like them, designing something for themselves. And this, of course, some of these stats were eye-opening. They are influencing, they are making that decision. I know, actually, while working on this, I stood and I asked myself, what decision do I really get to make in the home? And I found that I only decide two things: the size of the screen and the kind of car I want to drive. Every other thing, I have no clue about how those decisions are made. And the size of the screen, I think I was also influenced. So I wanted the dimension, but I didn't choose the brand. And I remember we were arguing about a Samsung and an LG. I'm not sure who won, but I think it wasn't me. But of course, the size, because it has to look, the football needs to look like the guys that play in my living room. Then the cars, because I love cars. That's all. Every other thing, I found out that I don't make the decisions. So why will advertisers, communication experts be talking to me? When finally everything you've said, when I get to somebody else makes that decision. So when we ideate, do we really have the right people around the table? 50% of products marketed to men are actually purchased by women. Remarkable. And the stats are there. So even when you decide that I need an aftershave, the challenge with the aftershave you are marketing to me is that I don't buy the aftershave. Okay? Even when you decide that I need to, of recent, my spouse, for example, threw away all my sporting and golf. COVID kept everybody home for a while, so you had to do plenty exercise so you don't become around. And of course, she had to change when the COVID thing came up, and I needed golf khakis and blah. So I kept complaining about it. A man never has time to remember those things. And then she came back one day and had everything. Question: even something as passionate and as personal as the game you play, you end up not doing the shopping for the things. She will assume that the sneakers looks good on you, the top looks good on you. So we look at it, even the products that are marketed to men, the decision about who purchases them actually is made by, of course, the significant person around them, in which case usually it's the female. So the question is, when we look at all those numbers, it gives us an idea of when we're talking about gender inclusion. And for me, like I said, it's not anymore about equality. It's about inclusiveness, making sure that what do we get by having more of women around decision making, around designing communication strategies, designing communication materials, because guess what? They understand what resonates with themselves because they're actually making the decision. But remember, I started from talking about the mega trends that will shape our world. What will the world look like in the next 30, 50, 100 years is driven by the global mega trends, which you can't run against. And when we look at it, and I go back again to a major, which is demographics, we see that there's a vast change in the role of women. It's changing dramatically. Not only are they becoming stronger with making decisions, they are also getting stronger in terms of economic empowerment. So here you have somebody with not only a gun, but it's a loaded gun. They have the money to make they have the ability by design to make most of the purchase decisions. We do not know how we surrender it, but I think just around, you just end up surrendering those things, okay? It looks like delegated, but I don't know. Maybe on another forum we'll discuss. But so they make all the decisions. Not only do they now make all the decisions, they also are empowered to complete that circle by also being able to actually do the purchase. So they are becoming strongly economically empowered. And this is strong, of course, in the marketplace. I think this is good, of course. And we're talking about the woman's role. Of course, in the family, they're influencers, they're shaping conversations, they're determining the direction that things need to go. It's not the way it used to be where you have, even when we have a woman that is fully engaged back home, because that also is a full-time job. We also find that they also make quite a lot of decisions, but that alone is not the only role anymore. We see them becoming very senior executives in the workplace, and of course becoming very active at the economy. These triple roles of the triple caps or hats that a woman wears creates a new imperative for how we should engage the woman and how we should communicate and how we should work towards inclusiveness. The next slide. Okay, the next slide. Thank you. And hello. So on the fourth slide. Yeah. So the number story. Okay, and I think I'd shared this before. I mean, many of the places where you have, this is from an HBR, Harvard Business Review. I think they've got where you have the research. And when you look at talking about the numbers in terms of how the women make decisions, there was industry drill down. And of course, like I said, working on this, I look back. When you're talking about things around the home, furnishings, the things that men think that they buy, all the so-called, hardware and all that, 94% of those decisions are actually made by women. But I know if I get a brief today, apart from, one of my very important clients is seated before me, and I remember I openly confessed to her I struggled on her account. How do I separate wet hair from dry hair, from something hair? And I know we struggled to make sure that we had the right kind of women around the table. The guys were just coming up with things that were wonderful. And when I call, of course, we try to have advocates and critics to our proposals. Every time they come, they say, what is this? You're not talking to me. This doesn't appeal to me. I struggled. Because guess what? If the person that needs to make the purchase decision, you're not speaking their language, they will struggle. And initially, the first time they wanted to get the critic in, they got a male critic who looks at our proposal. So it's like a devil's advocate thing. When we're through, you pitch in-house. And they pitched, and the guy felt it was okay. And I said, no. Get some people in projects, get your young lady. They sat and they started laughing. They were laughing because we responded to a female product brief like men who go to the salon every Sunday and shave off everything. And we didn't even understand the importance of hair to a woman. And that tells you, this is the other extreme of the spectrum. But if only you know that the way we make decisions about the hair products and how it's important to have them critique our concept, if only you also know that 94% of home furnishings if you communicate, if you manage that kind of a brand, if only you know that the ones that make that decisions, then we should be able to think differently about who is coming up with a strategy. 94%. Every time they call me about vacations, I get a lot of wonderful men telling me about all the resources that exist. 92% of those decisions are made by the women. The last time I went on a trip, my kids, luckily for me, and maybe that's why there was a term I stumbled on. Is it Shipa or something? A man who promotes the gender. There's this She-man or something like. I have 3 daughters and a wife. So every time we vote, it's just not possible for me to win. I'm only 20%. The last time, they said every time you travel, you only sleep. So next we're traveling, we think we even go with you. Just stay back in Lagos and sleep. Because they want to shop, they want to take so much time. And at times they even tell me not to follow them to where they're shopping and all that. Question, why are you designing holiday and vacations and talking to me because you assume I'm the one who will pay? I make 0 decisions about where they need to go. And these are the stats and the statistics we need, and the facts we need to have at the back of our mind. When I saw automobile, I was blown away. 51% of purchase decisions and influence about purchase decisions is actually made by the female gender. About what car the family needs to have, 51%. And it goes on and on to, 60% of automobiles, 51% of electronics. I was thinking it should be 100% of the TV and 100% of the cars. HBR tells me, no. Maybe it's because I'm just passionate about that. The question is, what's the imperative of this to brands, managers, and brand handlers, and communication experts and strategists? And when we're looking not only at the decision making, because now we're talking about the growth of brands, when we even move away from their roles in being influencers and influencing the whole purchase decision process, we're talking about even when the woman is involved in running their business. So question is, you ask yourself, for people listening to audience, okay, gender inclusion, do we just make sure we're thinking about them when we design all these products and who we appeal to and who the ad talks to and what are the color Pantones we use for our products and ads based on who's making the purchase decision? It's not only that. Who makes the decision and how the brand is run? You also need to be considerate and include the women. And it's not about tokenism here. It's not just a token to have 8 men sit around the table and have only 1 female amongst them. That's tokenism, and that's, patronizing. Remember, I also have 3 daughters and 1 wife, and they're listening. So everything I say has to be right. Okay? 800 businesses were surveyed. And all they're trying to look at was the ones that were gender, balanced and gender diverse. How were they? Research tells us that they found that the result can have a 14% higher average comparable revenue than the less diverse ones. So even when we look in terms of profitability, we look in terms of how businesses run, we look in terms of the trusting who we can trust with the affairs of running the business. We find out that the woman also comes out to a large extent in diverse businesses. The numbers also speak to it. So it's not only an ability to generate the top line and making sure that we build brand love with them. When they are the ones actually managing the brand, we see that research shows in 800 businesses that they are better managers of things we entrust to them. I mean, and as I sat, I was chipping away on my system. The question is, if you can entrust your home to them, why can't you entrust their business to them? Which actually is more sensitive. I'd rather not bother about, the business and make sure the home front is tight. So if you really think you have a business that's important, question is, we need to make sure it's diverse. Because it only shows that they're just good at it. My wife teases me every time. I'm sorry, I'll talk about it a lot because we do quite a lot of things together. And she's always making fun that men just have no clue about how to multitask. She says, why are you so, if you are doing this one, you forget about this one. Can't you just juggle the ball? We're just not wired. I think I've not done that research. I'm trying to do my PhD, but maybe we'll research the testosterone hormone. I think it might be a very weak hormone, because I don't know. We just can't seem to juggle it. But I think they have a way. And I think it only makes sense that we begin to see a lot more diverse boards and gender-included management in businesses that are doing quite well now. In the next slide, please. And as we move further from the numbers, the question is, going back again, for the brand manager, what are the imperatives? We can see that they make the decision. We can see that they are economically strong. We can see that a mega trend tells us that demographics are changing. As brand managers, so what? What do I do? As brand communication experts, what does this imply, or how do I implement this in going forward in our business? The next slide. The next slide. The next slide. So, in the submission, I am of the. So the next slide is not the next two slides. So I'll do a lot from you guys don't mind. So so in the submission in here, my proposal and of course my call out, go back one slide, is the fact that I'm of the opinion that women need to be at the core of the strategy for brands. They have to be at the core of it. Why should women be at the core of your strategy? Is because the direction of businesses globally is about building a sustainable business model. And when we're talking about building a sustainable business model, we will come to understand that sustainability talks about marrying a twine, which is not usual. It's about profits while doing good. That's the global direction of sustainable business. And for us to have businesses that are sustainable long-term, businesses that will thrive, businesses that top lines and bottom lines are protected, I am of the opinion that women need to be at the core of the business strategy of an organization in building a sustainable business model. And why do I think so? Go to the next slide, please. I think so because when we look at the economies, we see that transforming economies, we looked at the numbers, we look at the stats, we feel women are economically empowered. We think they make all the purchase decisions. We think they, to a large extent, they've shown that by their management and managerial capabilities and the skill, they're able to a large extent, be trustworthy managers. We think, therefore, that it is critical that all this is put together to make them central and core of not only communication strategy and how we communicate, but business model strategy in itself, to ensure that our brands and our businesses can grow. When we look at it from in terms of even, like I said, the demographics, when we talk of population, we find out that 51% even of global population today is made up of the feminine gender. Not only are they able to purchase, they also have the number. And that is why we need to make sure that our business model carries to a large extent a strategy that involves the female gender at the core of what we do. Economies grow when women are in
We move. I love. Where this guy? Where that you move?
The lower slides, we talk about building brand love.
Amadu, I can hardly hear them, Sha.
For the woman, it goes to a large extent beyond just the economic profit. Remember, I talked about the sustainable business. For a woman, it's all about there must be a cause greater than the number. And that is the whole concept of sustainable business. There should be a cause. And getting a woman to rally around a cause makes, to a large extent, a good case for building a business model that can do good as well as make profit. It also, to a large extent, places the onus on the business to not be wired around the bottom line obsession alone, which to a large extent is the skew of the male gender. It's finally about the numbers. But you find a female director ask you, so what are we doing about our society? What are we doing about unemployment? And when we speak to the current, things happening around the world, the answers and all that, it creates more imperative that beyond the tokenism of our CSRs, we do something just once a year, we need to make sure that there's a strategy, that there's a rallying cause behind what our brands push. So what is the brand trying to do in terms of doing good in the society, in the environment, beyond just the numbers? And I think when we put this in the heart of our core of our business and in the strategy, it becomes easier to get to build the kind of brand love that can translate into economic profit. Why? Women are not only advocates, subsequent slide, the fourth slide after this, women are not only advocates, they become brand champions. And I'm sure for quite a number of us, especially for the female gender, a man at times, he can't be bothered even telling his friend, everybody just moves on. But for a woman, oh, I like your hair. Where did you get it from? They are not only recommenders and advocates, they become brand champions. When a woman believes in a cause, you see them most times actually becoming champions and pushing it and pushing it. It's the way they nurture a baby, because they are a woman nurtures by design. They nurture. And when there's a cause that is bigger than just the bottom line, the fourth slide, they are likely going to be brand champions and brand advocates for that brand. And we are able to see them manage those brands the way in which, to a large extent, they want to manage their homes, the way they want to manage their children. So what is the call out for organizations? Is the fact that to have a sustainable business model, gender inclusion is critical. To have this gender inclusion, we need to be conscious of the fact that it makes business sense to ensure that women are at the heart of our brand strategy. Why? Because they are the ones that make the purchase decisions. They're economically empowered. They have the population in terms of numbers. They understand the ability to nurture and make things grow. They find it easy to rally around a cause beyond just the bottom line. An ability to rally around a cause is, and strengthen our business model, is what helps us create a sustainable business. And a sustainable business is a business that you are doing good to society, to your value chain members, to all stakeholders, while making profit. And women inclusion, of course, we can say to a large extent, it's a global cause. When we look at the SDGs, we find out also that inclusion of women in quite a number of course, forms a major part of the Sustainable Development Goals, which is critical for achieving a society that is equitable. Okay? And like I said earlier on, it helps create and build a sustainable business model. And we're giving examples of quite a number of organizations where, to a large extent, it's a core strategy to ensure that women is at the heart of their boards and their management. We have Visa, we have Facebook, we have Diageo, we have Slack. And of course, Diageo, which also incidentally happens to be a client of ours in one of our organizations, we found out that they top, for Diageo now is the slide I'm on, they top in terms of demonstration of gender equality. 44% of women in the board, global board of Diageo today are women. And I think that demonstrates to a large extent the importance of ensuring that women forms a core of a strategy. Next slide. So in closing the gender gap in our organization, in closing the gender gap, based on where you find yourself today, we need to reinforce or take advantage of gender inequalities, identify them where they are, and see how we can begin to improve and integrate, or to a large extent create gender inclusion. Identify the stereotypes where they exist and see how we begin to work around that. We need to also be a lot more accommodating as owners of brands and organizations. Work around the existing gender differences, inequalities, stereotypes, perceptions, biases. We need to work around them and begin to set ourselves on the path of transformation, where we foster critical examination of gender norms and dynamics, strengthen or create systems that support gender equality. I'm rounding up the next slide now. This was critical for us at the time where we submitted ourselves to global assessments of international organizations. And they were asking, when you have abuse in the organization, what's the process? There was no ombudsman process. At a time in 2016-15, when I have a management team of about 12 people, I had only one female around the table, and I had in HR 3 men. And there was just no ombudsman process. And you just will not know that, abuse and all that exists. Today, it's a total different experience, where we have 47% of our workforce actually being women. And of course, being strategic about some key positions, ombudsman positions, head of human resource, to facilitate conversations. It was a deliberate strategy to make sure that that balance exists. And that's my submission to all our listeners today. Strengthen or create equitable gender norms and dynamics, changes, and then make sure that we're changing equality and gender norms and dynamics to ensure that we create a system where inclusiveness and inclusion becomes a key part of the organization and a key part of the brand and business model. I'll end with the words of Melinda Gates, and I think she should know. If you invest in women, you invest in everyone else. And so my final call to brand owners and communication experts is, the more we are conscious and we invest in the female and drive an agenda of inclusiveness, the more we actually are creating a more inclusive society, not only for the women, but for everyone else. Thank you very much.
That was a wonderful keynote address. Thank you, sir. I'm actually proud to be a woman, yes, and because we're taking over. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. We appreciate. Moving on, our first session is on leveraging data science for effective engagement of female consumers. And I'll be inviting the panelists and the moderators shortly. But before we go on that, I would like to enjoin everybody to join the conversation online using the hashtag WIMCA2020. We want to hear from you. We want to know how you're engaging in the conversation today. So you can use the hashtag WIMCA2020. Thank you very much. Our first panelist is Mrs. Ifeoma Dozie, who is the Director of Marketing. Apologies for that. Who is the Director of Marketing and Communication, Sub-Sahara Africa, MasterCard. Mrs. Ifeoma Dozie is a marketing director with more than 15 years experience, currently the Director of Marketing and Communication, Sub-Saharan Africa at MasterCard. Ifeoma has an extensive international work experience across different categories with the drinks sector. She was Regional Marketing Officer of the Heineken Company, where she was responsible for the development of strategic business plans, and marketing capabilities for key markets within the Africa region. She'll be joining us online, so as soon as we start the session, we'll key into her. Our next panelist is Dr. Tola Bamigbaye El Atsui, apologies for that, please, who is the Executive Director of Marketing for the HS Media Group. Prior to this position, she was the Marketing Manager, Innovations for Guinness Nigeria. With a doctorate from the International School of Management, ISM, France. She has an MSc in Marketing and a first degree in Insurance, both from the University of Lagos. So far, she has had over 15 years leadership, marketing and business development experience in Africa, Nigeria, West Africa, and Gulf, Dubai, delivering profitable market share growth while building brand equity and acceptance in some of the top multinational FMCGs like Reckitt Benckiser, Unilever, and Cadbury. Join me to welcome Dr. Tola Bamigbaye. Yes, thank you very much. And the next panelist is Mrs. Ayodele Otsujiri, who is the Head of Marketing West Africa, Godreg Consumer Products. She is a consummate marketing professional with experience in strategic brand building, ideal leadership, and digital media management across diverse brand boundaries, spanning leading corporate financial services, food and beverage, and FMCG brands, amongst others. She has had close to a decade experience in the communications industry, managing brands, interactive digital and non-digital marketing projects for global brands. In this time, she has come to be known for being passionate in convincing and delivering new ways to use technology to connect with consumers, to consistently deliver profit and brand equity. Welcome with me, Mrs. Ayodele Otsujiri. Oh, apologies for that. I was just told that is for the second session. So I think we have Mrs. Bukola Akingbade, who is our moderator. She is the founder and CEO of Quizak Gambin, an African-focused export company for 6 to 18 years. Bukola is also a founding partner of Nucleus, a digital-first solutionist company, and the Republican Group, conveners of Tech Plus and Advertising Week Africa. Under our leadership, Nucleus started Springboard, a 6-month internship program to recruit and train penultimate university students. Welcome with me, Mrs. Bukola Akingbade, our moderator. Thank you. Lastly, we have our keynote speaker, Mr. Victor Benga Afolabi. So I'll hand over the mic to the moderator who will be taking the session on leveraging data science for effective engagement of female consumers. Thank you very much. Thank you. Hello? Okay. Right. Thank you very much, everyone. Nice to be here. Our last panelist, Ife, should be online, so I hope she'll be able to respond. So we need to get that sorted. Cool. So thanks. It's really good to be here. Happy to be here with. Do you mind if I call you Dr. Tola? Doctor is fine. You can't do all that. I will not call you doctor. And of course, Victor. Well done on the keynote. So my first question actually is more kind of centered around when we're talking about data science, and of course the topic speaks more about trying to talk about the female consumer from a data perspective. But I want to go back. I want to go back a step and. I want to go back a step. So, all right, thank you. Yeah, so the first thing I guess is that when you're talking about sorry about that technology. Okay. All right. Yeah, so we've got to. Right. So I think the first point for me is my understanding of marketing and kind of how I was taught is that marketing is a social science, which presupposes, right, that we ought to follow the data and the amazing stats that you've shown us today. But the reality from everything we're seeing and discussing is that that might not necessarily be the case. So I wanted to kind of start this conversation from the point of view of mass communication, kind of like how that started and why you've taken it from a business model and kind of economic perspective, but from a marketing perspective, right? I think a lot of these conversations we're starting to have are as a result of digital media or social media and the fact that, brands are now starting to talk directly to consumers, but more importantly, consumers are starting to have conversations among themselves about things that they love. So I guess my question is it a question about data science, as in, does the data exist? Or a question of interpretation? Are we looking at the data and interpreting it right? So in your experience, in your business, or from working with customers, right, and clients as well, how have you seen that interpretation of the data that you're seeing on a day-to-day basis. So I'll start with Victor. Oh, shouldn't I? Okay.
For the sake of gender inclusion, I was thinking it's a total, but because you're the moderator and that works. So, and thanks for that question. And of course, good morning to I think we need to start the conversation from understanding what the marketing process is. I mean, I think when we did brand and marketing a couple of years ago, it was understanding the process. The process, basically, when you summarize the marketing process, is four processes. And I think when we talk about the data, it's also what are marketing experts doing with the data, which for me will be speaking to the analytics. How do you analyze the data? Marketing process consists of four processes. The first is the objective. What's my objective? So what's my objective in terms of the customer, objective in terms of the company, objective in terms of the competitor, the collaborators, the context in which you operate. What's the objective? The next thing pillar after your objective is strategy. Okay, under the marketing process.
Especially because one of the teachers went to guys doesn't talk in when I do. That's just
okay. And then of course the third pillar of the marketing process is around the tactics. And your tactics are around either the 4Ps, 5Ps, or 7Ps, based on what you believe in and who taught you. Okay, so that's the thing. It's objective, strategies, the tactics around the and of course you end with the financials, which is your margins, what I want to do, your ROI, and the customer life cycle, the customer's life value. So when you look at all those four parts of the marketing process, there is data that we can get out from there, which of course we talk about the different analytics. And the question
Used to be a wicked evil game.
Thank you very much. So yeah, that is the I guess the main point, and a bit of that. In your everyday kind of day-to-day life, as a brand custodian, how do you interpret the data? You know, what policies exist from a gender perspective, if any?
We are able to multitask, like Victor said, and our receptive, the way we receive data is very, very important. So when you talk of data from the marketing or brand's perspective, I always like to look at it in two ways. Do you want to predict or do you want to infer from the past, which is analytics, which is what analytics will do for you? But when you think of data science, you are thinking about predictive data, meaning if this customer bought this, it's more likely that he will buy this. So from the amount of data that I have, let's look at a normal US brand. A normal US brand gathers about 8 pieces of information across every part of your journey. They gather about 8 pieces of information. So imagine you walk into the store, they capture data at every point of your experience. And by the time I'm capturing data for a couple of people, I'm able to predict that customers who did this can also do this. Customers who shopped for this also shop for this other similar item. So affinity, data affinity grows. So data can be looked at from two perspectives. If you're doing analytics, you're probably thinking of what happened in the past. Why? And then answering the why all the time. Why did they do this? And it helps you get better informed. Yeah, once you're better informed, you're able to identify where the gaps are, where the opportunities are. And of course, when you look into data science, which is in the future or predictive, you're able to even think of innovation, product management, what else can I do? What are the areas of shopping? You're even thinking channels. Is there a reason why they're moving from this place to this place? So the entire journey, the customer journey is very, very important. And along each step of the customer journey, pieces of data is being picked, information is being picked. What do we really do with that information? So again, the objective. And Victor, thank you for setting the tone, the objective. What are you looking for? Are you looking to analyze something that has happened in the past, or you are looking to predict and get some affinity? That is exactly where we need to be starting from when it comes to data, because there's an enormous amount of data that is available. And of course, it shapes the way brand thinks, it shapes the way we are communicating also, it shapes the way we are packaging our product, even to the point of where we put the product on the shelf. Why? Because data tells us that the customer is doing this or the consumer is doing this. So every time when we are able to pick that data and analyze it, it gives us some indicative of how the customer wants to be treated. So it's about the how, the why, and the when. Thank you.
Hello. Thank you very much, Dr. We've got you, if you can hear us. Nice to have you here. My question, it's interesting because I think from a MasterCard perspective, of course, you kind of see behind in terms of all the transactions, and therefore, I guess as a company, you are better able to understand macroeconomic trends. And my question in that is, in interpreting the data that you see, right, culture seems to play a huge role. Like when we're talking about bias, a lot of this bias is cultural in nature. But as marketers, right, we need to look beyond our biases. I guess my question is more in MasterCard. How do you ensure that there are things in place, policies in place that help us or help you interpret the information you get in a way that allows us not to be more inclusive in the programs and things that you do, especially because as a brand, MasterCard tends to be very progressive, actually. I've seen a lot of the responses around COVID and how the brand has responded across the world. So for gender inclusion and making decisions based on the data you see, what policies do you have and how do you navigate that in Africa?
Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone can hear me all right. But can you hear me? I'm not sure the panelists can hear me, but thank you for having me here on this session.
Yes,
Hi.
yeah. Are you unmuted? Okay.
No.
Oh, your mic
Everyone
is
else on the platform can hear me, but I'm not sure you guys on the panel can hear me. I'll answer your question anyway, just for the purpose of those that are on the virtual panel. So good morning, everyone. So to answer your question, I think first and foremost, I'll take a few steps back because our engagement with women starts at an earlier stage. Statistics has shown, hello? Yeah, those on the panel can hear me. I do, but sorry, those on the virtual platform can hear me, but the panelists I think can't hear me. I'll continue. So our engagement with women starts at an earlier stage. Statistics show that there's a gender inequality actually in the fields of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, especially cybersecurity and artificial intelligence. These two are the hottest tech fields today, and women make up less than 20% of the professionals in these fields. Only 1 in 20 girls opt for a STEM-based career. So to help narrow that gap, MasterCard is cultivating young tech enthusiasts as part of our signature education platform called Girls for Tech. So for us, it's important to really invest in educating the young child. It's a fun, engaging curriculum built around global science and math standards, and we have made a commitment to reach 1 million girls globally by 2025 with this program. So that's our first step. Our second step is at the product stage by creating the right solutions. We ask ourselves, are our products and services meeting the actual needs of women? Do we have insights that can help us incorporate women's experiences into the design and innovation process? As a payments technology leader with global insights, we've invested significantly in understanding women's financial priorities and mapping out those priorities across different life stages. To do this, as was mentioned in the keynote speech, we need women to be part of the design and innovation process. So we're committed to designing and developing a world with both women and men in mind, because designing a better world for women creates limitless opportunities and possibilities for us all. A lot of our solutions across Africa are designed to bring people into the digital economy. And that's really about the inclusion, financial inclusion that was mentioned as part of the keynote address. For individuals, gaining access to the digital economy means being able to use affordable financial products and services that meet their needs. Indeed, for the large population of excluded women, financial inclusion is about more than getting access to a bank account. It also means helping level the playing field for women, for instance, farmers who are growing Africa's food by providing access to buyers, pricing, and speedier modes of payment. By making a conscious decision to integrate women's perspectives into our business, our marketing, and our innovation strategies, more women will benefit from solutions specifically designed for their needs. And more companies will see revenues climb, more societies will experience elevated productivity, and economies will grow and thrive.
Thanks, Ife. Great answer. I think your comments speak a lot to empathy. And as businesses, kind of how and why empathy is important in making the choices that guide marketing. So I'll come back to you, Victor. Empathy, like whether it's the recent NSAS movement or we're talking about how we kind of see customers and brands. Empathy seems to be an integral part of what we as marketers, must imbibe or have as a founding philosophy. How do we become more empathetic as brands? People's shoes. And to your point, and I think in your experience, you've kind of moved, like you're talking about the way your team was structured from an all-male to kind of having more women in leadership positions and that, and also even in terms of being part of the process, right? How have you seen that transform your business? And for brands, how can they become more empathetic?
Okay, thanks. And I'll go back again to, of course, our end is still around data and analytics. I think the best way, even starting from the answers, which, I think it jolted quite a number of practitioners. It became a nightmare for handlers, myself not excluded. And it gave me an opportunity again to go back to say, what did we miss? And this goes to all of us also as we manage brands. So we see all the likes, we see all the reviews. Many of us do not get the fact that all those reviews, all those likes, all those comments can be run into analytical tools, R tools, do your regression analysis, and you get a feeling of what the brand love is and see how you turn that brand love to profit. And I think that's where the real challenge is. Marketing is about testing the intuition. You think people like you. So as a government or whatever, you think people like the policy is about empathy. And it's the same feedback you also get from an organization. So it's what are people saying? Why are you having attrition? Is paying attention and is, having the boldness to want to move. When we look at even the global sphere and even the brands, I think quite a number of brands do not know what they've done wrong at times. They don't know how they missed it or where they missed it. It's because we also are not paying attention to all the sentiments and analyzing the sentiments that are thrown across all platforms. When we have the tools that is able to put this together, analyze these tools, score the tools, come up with what the sentiment analysis is, and we're able to map, where we are, it becomes easier to be empathic. It becomes easier to see if there's a disconnect between the people you're talking to, the people you want to be, be affined with, and you're struggling to get some affinity, and you see if there's any disconnect between you and, of course, your target and the segment you're trying to engage. So I think empathy still comes back to working with this data, this marketing data. You will not see it as a marketing manager and a brand manager and guess. And that's why marketing budgets, I keep telling people, have suffered suicide and mass they've been mass murdering, marketing budgets since the last 15 years that I've been in this space. The reason is because we just have not been able to put the facts on the table.
Correct.
Why are we now? It's the time of era, social media, and we're having all the looking at digital media and all that. The question is, what actionable information are we getting from there, and how are we analyzing same? So ending it from the empathy that you've asked is, you can't get it from just having a focus group alone. You can't get it from just your traditional research alone. We need to analyze all the footprints and all the sentiment analysis across all the platforms where we have our consumers and our stakeholders, and we need to use data and the appropriate tools and invest in these tools and marketing experts. It's the future. It just has to be data. You won't go to a marketing or a board meeting and say, I feel anymore. It's no longer I feel or making noise around the brand. Those things died, you do a brief and say, what are you trying to achieve? I want to make some noise around the brand. Those things died 12 years ago. It has to be hardcore data and facts to tell your guys and colleagues in finance and all that why they need to put more investment around this, why empathy is even important, why empathy will lead to brand love, and how you can translate your brand love to profit. That, I think, is where marketers need to be obsessed about using data and analytics to prove that, and then we can begin to work in that direction. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So the data, interpretation of data, I completely agree with you, by the way. However, in this market, I do believe that the data exists, and you're right. And it's you mentioned a point earlier in that statement around boldness. So I want to stay on that for a minute. I think this will be a tough conversation for brand people. So there's a book, and I carry it around often. It's a book called This Is Marketing. I hate Seth Godin's books, but I love this particular one. It's the only one I've been able to read. And he speaks about marketing and brands not creating average products for average people, which kind of like, if you go back into the era of mass, is kind of like the mindset. So knowing the data that we have, what we've seen, whether you look at that in terms of economic data, people within or below the poverty line in Nigeria as an example, or the fact that you have about 50% of the population being women. So many big stats like that about the trends and the micro trends that we're seeing that digital tools and analytics allow us to see. My question is this: with all the data that we have, I'm slightly perplexed, that brands aren't taking position boldly around certain things. So since we're talking gender, right? Maybe we should stay on that, and I'm not talking about creating a product that is for women superficially, right? I'm saying, how can we push this a bit further? So I'll give an example, and this is not maybe related specifically to Nigeria, but if you look at the whole thing within beauty when you're looking at when either Rihanna launched Fenty or the Savage by Fenty line and the way that was approached, or even Dove in the old days, right? And that boldness to be able to say, this is what we believe, and we're putting our money behind it because the data tells us that this is important. And to your point about sustainable businesses, right? That is a huge point. Why aren't brands being as bold? So that question is for you.
An interesting one, yeah, because I believe that, or I'm of the opinion that brands are getting bolder, yeah. So maybe not why are they not bold? They're getting bolder by the day, and we see this in all of the things around us, how things are being marketed to us, and more importantly, what they're saying to us. My brand talks to me a lot, and you see that in inclusion. Example of the bear. You know, in a lot of advertisements that you used to see, you will see it's a male dominated scene. And you know, they talk about how they enjoy their beer, but now you see a lot more inclusion is like 50-50. 50% female in the ad, 50% male. Why? Is the inclusion. Yeah. And when you talk about the beauty line also, I think one that readily comes to mind is the study done in Istanbul. Yeah. There's a clothing apparel. The clothing apparel line is one that is very is complex and tricky. Why? Because of the many different shapes, sizes, what women like, what they don't like. So this study had been conducted based on the customer style index. And they just really wanted to know what made women choose the styles that they chose. Why? Why are they choosing the styles? So first they had a group of men who looked at it. Of course, they got it wrong. And then they had the women which talks to your empathy about being in the customer's shoes. I'm a woman. I know what I want. How do I even want to style my clothes? How do I want to how fit do I want it to be? And of course, they had tremendous information come out of the study that was done. The one that is most striking to me when I read that report was the fact that segmenting them did not just work anymore, but you needed to go deeper into the segments. It's okay to segment people based on class, lifestyle, but you needed to go deeper in the data that you have. Even through the segmenting, you needed to re-segment, create sub-segments. And then, of course, you come to individualism. Yeah. So I want a brand that specifically speaks to me, made specifically for me. I want to feel that this brand owner thought of me when they were creating the brand. That speaks to me. That's important to me. That makes me happy. So that in itself is how far brands have gone in crafting their communication, crafting the messages that you see, creating the adverts that you see online. Another one which I readily remember is the Dell example. Remember when the Dell had this pink laptop, pink system? You know, we just readily get into this shrink it and pink it. It has to be for a woman. So just shrink it and pink it. They want it small, they want it pinkish. Yeah, shrink it and pink it. Don't get into that box. Yeah, you will remember we want to be seen. We don't want to be treated like infants. We're very much interested in knowing that everything around us, we can also partake in everything around us. Take the example of your shoes, for instance. There are some made specifically for women, some made specifically for men. But in the styling, there's that element that says this shoes for running, for fitness, for my exercise. There's just something about it that is female, is trendy, is chic. I think I want it. So in all of the examples I've given, what I've come to realize is that the individualism is important. The data is available. Yes. So while we're segmenting, remember that profiling, targeting and profiling, and further drilling down into the data is very, very important because segmenting, I mean, we segment every day. Brands are segmenting every day. They're based on their lifestyle, demographics, everything, what class of society. They will always exist. They're not going to go away. But bringing it down to the very details, individualizing it, reprofiling it, the difference, that's where the difference is. And I would say that brands are already doing it. Yeah, we see a lot through the advertisements that we see on air every day. And of course, the crafting of the communication, we see a lot of that come through.
Very much. We're rounding up now. We just have a few more minutes. So I'm going to go to Ife before I take questions from online. So Ife, my last question to you, speaking about boldness and, the importance of that in kind of actioning the data that we see, how is MasterCard kind of looking at that? The second point, and on a lighter note, is does MasterCard have an inclusion officer?
Yes, so MasterCard has a global diversity officer. But I want to spend a few minutes or a couple of seconds just talking about leveraging the power of data, because I think it's important that, just to reiterate what has been mentioned by the other co-panelists, data really and data science is transforming the face of marketing today. And look at artificial intelligence, for instance. It's about, what is AI? It's about making automated decisions based on data collection, data analysis, and additional observations. Now, it can improve the overall customer journey. It can also boost return on investment. And I think we need to start talking more about how relying on data enables CMOs to connect the dots more accurately between marketing activity and business success. The way consumers are responding and interacting with marketing messages is changing. We need to be able to, and we can, and we are tailoring messages to interests, to locations. Many of us will not engage with ads that are not tailored to the individual. We need to move to personalized marketing. A report shows that 43% of consumers are more likely to make purchases from companies that personalize. So it really helps us to eliminate the guesswork in customer interactions. It enables us to optimize marketing campaigns by supporting in the decision of what content to create and when to distribute it. And it can help process vast quantities of information, make accurate predictions that predict behavior, as well as supporting in the identification of leads. So yes, we have been investing at MasterCard in AI, and we see the possibilities of other technologies such as augmented reality, virtual reality, and also blockchain. As I said, we really believe very strongly in inclusion overall, but also gender inclusion. We believe in educating the girl child. We make considerable efforts internally and externally to bring more and more women into the financial economy. And we really have processes internally that ensure that we live and breathe inclusion in the way that we operate, not just with our employees, but also with the world at large. Because ultimately we believe, that if you include more and more women in the overall strategic decision process, in the innovation process, at board meetings, we have the power to make the world richer and stronger and build economies in a more sustainable way.
Absolutely amazing, Ife, spoken like a brand with purpose. Yeah, so thank you. So we'll take 2 questions from the audience, or 1 question, okay.
The GMD, Mr. Victor Afolabi. And the question says, with the talk around data science and marketing to women, do you think brands in the climb are maximizing the opportunities that digital offers?
Do I think they are maximizing? My opinion, I do not think so. Remember, I'm also a marketing person, so it applies to me. Are we bold enough? I also do not think so. Are we making efforts, making strides? Yes, I think we are. But what do they call men who like to promote women and advocates for women? There's something they call them. I'm one of that, okay? I don't even have a choice. She's something, or he, she, or he to she, or something, whatever. Just assume. I think one of the things I've seen working with quite a lot of female managers, having a couple of them report to me, working with them also in the team, is we also need to be a bit bullish. I think we deal also with stereotypes. Oh, I'm a woman, it has to be soft, I have to be apologetic, I can't make that tough call, management is management. I think we can't be bold with the facts, with the stats. We can't be bold with our views. And that way, I think it will be beneficial to the brands and the businesses and our consumers. Men, to a large extent, by wiring, by stereotype things. Once they come into the room, their voice should be loudest. They should have the final say, even when they don't have the stats and they don't have the intuition. So I think when we talk about data across everywhere, we are not using it enough, and we're not empowering the people who make the decisions, even with the data enough. We all need to be aware that we are all better off if we allow the owners of the brands, people who purchase the brands, to make the final decisions about those kind of brands in the boardroom, in the management room, and of course, when we make them backed with data. What also empowers and boldens you is when you have data, and the data is everywhere. Thanks.
Sorry, we just have one more that came in. Dr. Elatui, you spoke about the pink box. How do marketers and brands avoid boxing women into the space using digital, specifically data science?
Thank you, and that's really interesting. It's about reprofiling. You target, first you segment, you target, and then of course you reprofile. You reprofile to the point where you're almost at an individual state. Yeah, because when you segment is a large cluster. Yeah, but data enables you to recluster, algorithms are used, and you can further segment down, you can further drill down into elements that are similar, circumstances, behaviors, attitudes that drive the individual occurrences that you see. So I think when we begin to have that level of information, it enables us to further drill down and further segment. That way, we're able to identify opportunities and, of course, have clear messaging to the right people, right target audience.
Just on that point, and I think that's a good point, just to kind of round off, I think that the whole point of, so if the data exists, right, the how, what you say and how you say it matters. And that is where really the lens of bias is. So the reality is we need more diverse teams, we need more people from different backgrounds, different cultures being part of that process. Because if not, we'll have the right information, but say the wrong thing. Yeah, so I think that is a critical thing to note.
Thank you so much. I think they deserve a round of applause. That was a wonderful session. Please, before you leave, we'll be taking a photograph with the CEO brand communicator. Can we key in the other speaker, the other panelist, so we can have her on the background for the photo session? Please, we need you to hold. We want to key in and the other speaker. Yes, just give us 1 minute.
And life was nothing but an awful song.
We can. She has turned back.
But now I know the meaning of true love. I'm leaning on the everlasting arms.
Thank you so much. Thank you to our moderator and our panelists. We appreciate. I hear a lot of inclusion. I hear a lot of women taking over. That was a fantastic session. Moving on to the next session, and that is on Each for Equal, navigating through tough terrains. Join me as I welcome the first speaker, Ayodele Otujirin, who is the head of marketing, West Africa, Godreg Consumer Products. She's a consummate marketing person with experience in strategic brand building. She has close to a decade experience in communication industry, and she has managed a lot of brands. Give it to her, she's interactive and has non-digital marketing projects for global brands. In this time, she has come to be known for being passionate. I mean, she's very passionate in convincing and delivering new ways to use technology to connect with consumers to consistently deliver profit and brand equity. Join me as I welcome Ayodele Otujirin. Our second speaker is Amechi Okobi, who is the Group Head Corporate Communications Access Bank. She's highly motivated in marketing and communication with extensive working experience in diverse industries, ranging from FMCG and telecommunication. He currently sits in the helm of Access Bank, and he will be bringing his expertise and experience to today. Join me as I welcome Amechi Okobi. Our other two speakers will be joining online, Nkiru Olumide Ojo, who is the Regional Executive Head and Corporate Communication Affairs, Standard Bank Group. And also we have Ilyas Kazim, who is the Marketing Director for Eat and Go, a quick service restaurant company and parent company of Domino Pizza. He has over 12 years of marketing communication experience globally and regionally across all segments of marketing, ranging from category design of products, development for sub-Saharan Africa. Join me as I welcome our two speakers online. They won't be here, but they'll be joining online. That's Nkiru Olumide Ojo and Ilyas Kazim.
Hi,
Our moderator for this session on Each for Equal, is Phoebe Dami Asalo, who is the Customer Marketing and Commercial Manager. Phoebe commenced a career in Nigeria IMC industry in 2012 at the Nigerian Breweries as an assistant manager for Amstel Motor and Ferrous Brands. At Reckitt Benckiser, she quickly assumed the position of brand manager for one of the company's flagship brands, Dettol. Join me to welcome Phoebe Dami Asalo. Thank you very much. For this session, we have 40 minutes. And for our online viewers, we ask that you join the conversation online. Join on the chat box, please. And also, we'll be taking 2 questions online. We have 2 questions for our online viewers, and we'll be presenting gifts to them. So as we start the conversation, please join and send in your questions on the chat box. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Good morning to our panelists here and online as well. Hi, Ilyas. Hi, Nkiru. Good morning. So I'll just give a background and then we'll go into the questions, if that's okay. On the 8th of March, I think we're all aware, the world celebrated Women, International Women's Day. The purpose was 3 things, basically: to celebrate women's achievements, to raise awareness against bias, and to take action for equality. There's so many benefits to having women in your team. I'm sure we know that already. I'll mention a few. Women are known to be very good at multitasking. Women are known to be more empathetic. Women are naturally nurturing. And this is a skill that is needed to identify talents and groom talents, grow potential basically within the team. However, women face some challenges as they grow, as they try to reach the top in their career. Some are flexible work hours, equal pay, bias in so many ways, even in terms of mentorship as well, how to select a mentor or how to even have a sponsor within an organization. Sexual harassment is also one of them. So we'll go into the questions and I'll start with Ayodele. Nice to meet you. What other challenges, apart from the 5 mentioned, do you think women face in the IMC industry, and how have you been able to shatter or basically take out all these biases as you've grown in your career?
Thank you so much. So good afternoon, everyone. Morning, everyone. I'll start with, I listened to Sheryl Sternberg, and she was talking about the same biases that women face in the workplace. And she divided into like internal barriers and external barriers. And I think I'd like to go further out as well. I think you've mentioned a couple of them. However, they're also beyond the society, beyond the culture, beyond some of the issues that, some organizations have that stands as hindrances for women to, attain, top positions in organizations and actually grow. There are also internal factors like, you find, and I think some of the panelists in the first session also touched on it, where women feel like, okay, if I'm in a room, I won't speak loudly because women are supposed to be in a certain way. They're supposed to talk in a certain way. There's a lack of self-confidence. So I have like several young people that I talk to, women, and you find out that actually it could be based on different upbringings, the way our parents raised us as well, is such that we are in that mindset of a woman has to enter a room and go unnoticed. She shouldn't say too many things. She should think about what she wants to say before she says it, whereas the guy is more audacious. He comes through with his ideas and doesn't go through all of this issues. And these are the things I feel are internal biases, lack of confidence, crisis awareness. They don't know who they are. You'll find out that a lot of women have even much more, like you said, they are naturals. They have a lot more on their inside, but that confidence to come out strong, explain or talk about an idea is not there because the way they were raised also, limits them. And so these are some of the issues beyond the external factors. The internal factors actually is one that, we women have to rise up against and see how we battle it out. If you have to go for courses that will help you know how to talk in public, if you have to, think through what you are going to do, but come out, from your shell. A lot of women also need to be a bit more aspirational. When you ask women, what do they want to become? They'll say, oh, I don't know, eventually I'm going to get married and my husband will take care of me. You see some women do that, but it's changing, but a lot more women have to, break that barrier and come out of, those internal issues that hold us back. So personally, I'd say my upbringing was different. I was raised by a single mother. She worked in First Bank for like 25 years. She was a career woman. And so she drove me from the get-go, telling me, you can do better. She was my cheerleader. And for me, getting into the career space, I've been working for close to 13 years. And I heard during the campaign, the just ended election, Kamala Harris was saying she eats no for breakfast. I think that's also been my experience, every time, you are in board meetings, you put up an idea and they say no. But what I do is I push through that. I come back again, say the same thing. I tell you what my ideas is. I come out with confidence. I read and I prepare myself a lot more than, I know my male counterparts will. Today I sit with, an MC team. I'm the only female, the only African in that room. I'm Black, I'm a woman, it's almost like I'm totally disadvantaged. But what I do is I don't allow all of that, to hinder me or pull me back. I know I have something to offer. So I miss all the no. Like Kamala Harris said, no is, I eat no for breakfast and it's a hearty meal. So I take the no and I take it on my back. Whatever you say, I have my ideas. I believe strongly in it. I believe I can add value to this business and I'm going to do that. I won't allow anyone push me back. And I think that's what has set me apart and pushes me forward. So doing that, ensuring that you also have all your facts and data. You can't say, because I'm a woman, they'll be gentle on me. Even if I say nonsense, they'll forgive me. So you have to, if you have to do an extra qualification, if you have to, do your master's program, be that certified, be that knowledgeable. And that's what I did. I've been pushing myself through. I've done like more and more, qualifications to ensure that when I speak in the boardroom, there's more authority, there's more data, there's, people listen to me and they know that, oh, she's bringing some value to the table.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that. You mentioned some really great points. We need to leverage on our inner strength. No matter how we've been brought up, no matter what has come our way, in growing up, we need to leverage on whatever inner strength that there are, and also external capabilities as well, knowledge. Nobody's going to be gentle because, oh, you're a lady. At this time of our lives, it doesn't matter anymore. We need to have that knowledge to set us apart. Amazing. Thank you so much. Hi, Amici. Good to see you. So the next question is, what is your view on giving men and women equal opportunities? Using your experience, how would you advise organizations to do the same?
So it's actually, first of all, the opportunity to speak at a forum like this about women and gender equality as a man is an honor. So I thank you and I thank you. Now, at Access Bank, we don't necessarily think about men and women in a traditional sense. Access Bank is a bank and we're driven purely by performance. So as long as you're performing, you will rise. It's actually that simple. So when you talk about what other organizations can do, definitely banking has gone a lot further than most industries, because take, for example, you're an ET or an AGM or an SM, your pay is exactly the same. So an SM, man or woman, an SM, Kanu or Lagos, is earning exactly the same thing. So in terms of equal pay, that's there. Now, for other industries and organizations to actually step up the game, you have to be concerted in your effort. You can't just talk about it, you can't just wish it. You have to actually put things in place, put policies and initiatives in place to drive this. It's key that even when these things are in place, they're followed, they're tracked, there's accountability, so that you have someone championing this cause. And please, God, it cannot be a man championing a gender empowerment initiative. It just doesn't make sense. He could sponsor it, he could support it, but he cannot be the one because he doesn't understand. I will never understand what women go through in a workplace and being discriminated against, for example. So definitely the right person should be in place to make that happen. Also important, we have something in Access Bank called AWN, Access Women's Network. And what this does is it gives women an opportunity to be mentored, supported, and essentially encouraged. Banking is tough. The workplace is tough. Like my fellow panelists, I forget your name, forgive me. Like Aya just said, women have been programmed by society, by their mothers, to be demure, to be quiet, because it's like, I'm raising you to be a good wife. What is that? So in a workplace, you find that women don't say as much as they should. They're extremely intelligent. I have a team of female warriors that are just to die for. So they're extremely intelligent, they're extremely hardworking. They will push and they will drive as much as any man, someone misspelled my name, as much as any man would. But they need to be encouraged from the very beginning. When you hear a little girl being told that she's bossy, you're programming her to downplay her executive leadership skills. So don't. So from that age it starts. But in the workplace, you need to allow women and everybody really to express their views. What you find is that once a woman makes a point in a board meeting or in a meeting, if she's shut down or disregarded, she will say less at the next meeting, unless she's a warrior and she's a beast and she will power through like Ayo does. But most women are not equipped that way. So you find that they're saying less and less and less. Now at Access Bank, we're purely selfish because we know women have a lot to bring to the table. So if someone has a view, we will hear it. I will listen to it. So these organizations need to start thinking about that. But ideally, there should be no women's initiative. There should be no, how do we empower women? That's the dream. It should just be, we have employees and people are delivering and rising and growing. So the end goal should be a time when there's no Women's Day, there's no award for the first woman to do this. Kamala Harris, for example, why is it a big deal that she's the first woman vice president? Shouldn't be that way. Folake Animumuni, personal hero of mine. Auntie Mo, chairman of Access Bank. Auntie Deria Woshika, chairman of Access Bank. These women are just doing what they do, and it really shouldn't be a big deal. So once we get in our heads that these are just human beings driving for excellence, we start to get there.
Thank you so much. That was fantastic. I like the fact that you mentioned how specific Access Bank is in terms of performance. So it's not about, oh, you're a man, you're a woman. If you perform, you get to the level that you are supposed to be, basically. So we should look beyond, if there's an opportunity, and this is what I always say as well, if there's an opportunity to get, I want to get it because I am capable, not because I'm a woman. So that's where we should all get to in our different organizations. Thank you very much. So we'll go online now. Hi, Nkiru. I don't know if she can hear us.
I can hear you very well. Hi, Phoebe. Lovely to ECU. Can you hear me?
Hi. Okay. It's really low. Yeah, the volume is really low.
Okay. All right. Cool. Maybe me. So hi, Phoebe. Lovely to ECU. Can you hear me now? Is it better?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, cool stuff. I think it might be me, really. Probably my.
I think it's from this end, but it's fine. It's fine.
Okay, cool stuff.
Yes. Okay. So the question is, would you say women like yourself are doing enough to encourage other women to achieve their potential? And what more can women do, especially in your capacity, to encourage other young women?
Right. Thanks, Phoebe, for that question. But just before I get on, I'd like to say a big thanks to the organizers of this forum, particularly Joshua and his amazing team. They're real he for she's, real sponsors of the female agenda, and well done. Look, I think there's a lot that each one of us can do as females. I say to people that there's a lot of comment about getting to the table and getting to the boardroom, but I think that a woman's work is not done until she has pulled up lots of seats for other women to also sit with her on the table. I heard Amechi talk about women being the first of it. And for a long time, I used to be fascinated when I would hear, this is the first female engineer, this is the first, and after a while I got irritated and I said, how come you've been the first female engineer for 50 years? Did you pull up the seat? What did you do? Now, here are a few practical ways in which people can pull up seats for other women. One, you've got to be a sponsor of another woman. And one of the things we do at the organization, which I founded and run, which is called the Lighthouse Network, is to get women ready for the marketplace. And I say to people, obviously, there are lots of structured things that you can do, but there are lots of non-structured things that you can do also. And some of it is encouraging women to see their potential. A lot of it is, helping women self-correct. I heard Ayodele when she talked about women not being able to speak up at meetings. And I often say to another woman, when you've seen a woman who hasn't shown up correctly, in a meeting that counts, one of the things you should do is afterwards call her and say, I didn't think you showed up in that manner. This is a great way in which I think, or a more improved way in which I think you can show up. So on a primary level is mentorship, but on a secondary and very important level for me is sponsorship. And alongside sponsorship is advocacy. And with advocacy is getting people to change policies to ensure that there's equity in what the males are receiving versus the females. Now, it's equity in terms of positions, and I know the banking sector in Nigeria does have a policy of the amount of representation that should be seen on the board. And it's equity, just all the way down to equal pay. So I think I'll just stop there and hand over to you, and happy to speak further on that. Thanks, Phoebe.
Thank you so much. So she spoke about mentorship and not just mentorship, even sponsorship. So advocacy, when we notice maybe someone in a meeting has been shut down, what do we do about it? Do we just leave the meeting and think, oh, she'll be okay? We don't even need to be the person's line manager. We can go ahead, call the person up, and try to cheer that person to be able to leverage on their inner strength as you spoke about. Thank you so much. Okay.
Even during the meeting, because when you encourage and support this woman outside the meeting, yeah, you supported her. But in the meeting, you've let them know that this is inappropriate behavior, and you've given her the confidence that somebody in this meeting has my back. So that support in secret does not actually work.
Very true, actually. Even during the meeting in the open space, let's ensure that we do this advocacy and sponsorship for younger women. So I would take a question now for Elias. I don't know if
Hi,
Elias. Hi,
Phoebe.
Elias.
Hi,
Hi,
Phoebe.
Elias. Good to
Hi,
see
good
you.
morning. How are you?
Good morning. Fine, thank you. Okay, so Elias, the question is, what role have men in leadership position played in helping female employees navigate through the terrain? Are there any challenges women face that are caused by men? And how can these be avoided?
Okay, thank you, Phoebe. That's kind of a lot of questions. I think, first of all, for me, I think I've had a different experience from having women in the workplace. I started my career in P&G, and it was more of a women-led organization in terms of the whole marketing team. And my first manager was a woman. The marketing director back then was a woman. And, my whole experience, my tutorship, my mentorship was all by women. So I know the experience out there is a bit different. Most people have talked about women not talking up in meetings. But throughout my career, I've actually not experienced that, especially when you are in an organization that is the leadership of women. And these are fantastic women that have risen up to the best of their career. My mentor is currently the vice president of Oracle Global for P&G, and this is a fantastic role, not even held by a man. And this is someone that I look forward to, in terms of my own career advancement. So it's a bit different in terms of my experience when it comes to women. So basically, when Joshua reached out to me, I was exactly the same thing. I told him that, first of all, speaking on women, I don't think I have the expertise of doing that. But I think the only thing I could basically do is probably just share my own experience in terms of what I've seen through, that have worked, and how women has grown in marketplace. And talking of that experience, right, even my current team right now, 85% of them are women in my current role at the moment. Like, I'm even trying to okay, fine, I just have about 3 guys in my team. Every other person is a woman. And one of the things I've seen that has really worked, basically, I'll just put it like in 2 main buckets that I've seen. I think just like one of the panelists mentioned, you don't expect to grow because you're a woman. The first most important thing every organization should also do is to ensure there's enough capability to grow. That's the first important thing. And capability development in terms of functional expertise. So, being in that role, you need to be the expert of that role. Everybody should know that, irrespective of the gender, you know what you're doing, you know your numbers, you know your history, your list of ideas, and all. And secondly, also personal growth, like one of my panelists also mentioned, in terms of, continuous learning, continuous growth. And that gives that, authority for you to hold your position. And that's one of the things that I've seen that, has really been the factor where there's a lot of advancement for women folks in the organization. The second thing I've also seen that have worked is also the exposure to crucible roles, like where you want to take on the next role that exposes you to top leadership, where you're in the room with the top leaders and you can show them your expertise, your knowledge base, and that drives the growth. And what I've seen that's really worked. So what I would advise every male leader or every organization, so to say, is to ensure that that cultural fit is there for them to ensure that everybody grows accordingly. So there is enough support for the women, There's capability development, there's functional expertise growth, there's also personal growth, and at the same time, they expose all the women to crucible roles where, you know, the next vice president should be a woman, the next president should be a woman. So that exposure to crucible roles is one of the key things that I've seen that's really worked in advancement in organization. Your second question regarding one of the issues, some of the issues that seen where men are probably been a challenge. And I think one of the key things that I've seen across different organizations, across different departments, sales, marketing, is about the fact of being less empathetic to women. There is a case study of someone that I was talking to around during the pandemic. So her husband was in a coma sometimes around Q4 2019, and she was balancing work and family. And our one-up was a male, obviously, and so it was a lot. There was a lot of friction in terms of balancing the husband in coma and also the role. So there is a lot of less of empathy from the board. And that's one of the things that I see that is improvement when the one-up is a male and he has a lot of female reporting lines. So it needs to be more empathetic in terms of listening, in terms of understanding what they have to go through. That him probably goes home and everything is set, he just gets home or outside the kitchen if he is. But he needs to understand that for the woman, the life probably even starts after leaving work. So he needs to have that empathy in his entire journey, understanding what the women are going through even after leaving work. And also, the second thing I've also seen that's a major challenge is also that expectation of a non-break in the work career, especially when it comes to maternity leave, women going for to deliver, and even when that becomes maybe it's a back-to-back kind of, maybe the woman gets pregnant a year after or just after the last delivery. So that's some of the issues that men really need to be supportive of, and put in place structures that will still ensure the woman continues working and earning and continue delivering. So there are a lot of things that could be put in place, like flexible work from home, flexible working hours, having a clear discussion of the career path of the woman, understanding her family needs, what does she need to do in terms of maternity, and how will she work, and being supportive of that. I think those are some of the structures that every organization needs to put in place, especially if there's a male leadership that needs to understand, okay, these are women, these are things that they're going to go through. They need to put structures in place to ensure that when these things happen, they should be able to deliver and still rise to careers, plus having breaks in their career, which is now when the male guys take the opportunity of that to grow better. So that's my perspectives in regarding to that.
Thank you, Elias. Thank you. You spoke about capability development. That's a very good point. To the men, he spoke about being more empathetic. Just try to be more empathetic. And then he spoke about specific times when women need extra support, like during maternity leave, understanding family needs as well. And I think in general, I just want to talk on the family. So I think based on everything that the panelists have mentioned, I've noted specific roles that mothers or even fathers as well, can play in grooming women right from the home and then into how they behave in the workplace. So there's a role that we as mothers can play as to how we make our children even, perform in the workplace. So like you rightfully said, yes, women are supposed to have that poise and everything that is the whole perception, but there's a different expectation that is needed, especially when you're in the boardroom. Your daughters need to understand what the expectation is. There's a different expectation when you're a wife, there's a different expectation when you're the woman in the boardroom. And secondly, if I heard clearly, I think Elias also spoke about husbands. There's a support that is needed with your wife, understanding your wife's career goals. Yes, she's supposed to be a wife. There's a lot of responsibilities needed in the home, but if she also has a dream to be a career woman, there's specific roles that you can play, to support her dream. So just to speak to fathers, mothers, and also husbands, these individuals can play specific roles in grooming women as they reach the top. I don't know how much time we have left before we go into more questions. Are we good for time? 5 minutes more. So do we go to the, or do we ask more questions? Do we go to the online questions? Okay, so we'll just go to one more question, and I would ask this. I'll ask one question to you, Ayodele, and one to you as well, Amici. So I want to ask about your organization, Godred. What specific policies have been put in place to support women in the organization?
So thank you. I'd say that Godrej as a business is one that is passionate about grooming and raising women and turning the social disadvantage into opportunities within Godrej. So, you know, with all that is happening in the world, and it's just not Africa, you know, even if you move, you know, down into other countries as well, you realize that it's the same thing that's obtainable. There's this artificial glass ceiling that just holds women down from, you know, attaining stature and, you know, growing in their career. So what Godred does as a business is see how they partner and support women, turn those social disadvantages into opportunities. And this is done through, you know, extended maternity leave, the 6 months maternity leave. And then you resume back to a fully furnished, you know, daycare facility where you can keep your child for 4 months as well. And so for the first year of your baby, you know, you have that close contact, and you're also able to work this flexi work hours. There are women forum, there's a mentorship program for women. And these are things that, you know, the organization puts, you know, and these are not things that are done passively. You know, it's something that happens, you know, month in, month out. They're reaching out to you. You have the session with your mentor. And as you go up as well, so they also, you know, do female specific programs in terms of some of the, we have a WhatsApp group and, you know, a community where all the ladies, the leading ladies of the business are, and then women can talk, give ideas, opinion. Okay, I'm not comfortable with this. And all of this also are there too. So these are a few things that the business does to see how they partner with women, because they know that, you know, it's like they are in a disadvantage. The society has put them in that position. So the business, you know, goes out also, and also because we have a lot of categories that, you know, from Darling to Mega Grow to TCB, you know, all those categories are, you know, mostly female brands that we're pushing. Because of that, we see that, and our workforce is mostly, you know, women, from the factory workers to the white collar. So we do see all of this, and we ensure that, okay, what can we do? And I say we because I'm part of the management team. What can we do to ensure that women are a bit more comfortable? Policies that are in favor of women in terms of their maternity and how they come back, and then how we also groom and raise them. The other panelists, I forget her name, said, you know, in terms of mentorship and you know, sponsorship, there are programs actually that I mark women and say, okay, this woman will be sponsored or mentored by this, and maybe for a period of 1 year. I actually just finished one a couple of months ago where I was being mentored by, you know, some of our leaders in India. So all of this happened, you know, time to time, and, you know, it goes across the entire organization.
Okay, just to add to the question, what has the organization done for men to support women? Just in addition to everything you have said.
Okay, in terms of men supporting women, so there's also a policy that there's a paternity leave policy, such that when your wife gives birth to a child, you get like 10 days, and that's different from your annual or your regular leave. There's also, because we have a lot of female categories, when we do some of our programs, we extend it to their wives, and they might not be working in the organizations, you know, all of that also happens. In terms of also supporting men, supporting women, I think it's just the culture for women, you know, to not be like, we can't be in a meeting and a woman is giving an idea and you shut her up. Women are also pushed, and, you know, there's that action to see that they are being mentored, they are being raised, and, you know, we also get a lot of, we always like to bring a lot of women into the system because our categories are mostly, you know, female brands. So we like to bring women. So a lot of guys are also encourage to bring, have like a good balance and not just have, even though if it's PSO, if it's HR, ensure that you have a good balance of both male and female, because the women bring, something different to the table. And so that's one of the things the business does also.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Over to you, Amici. There's a difference between gender equity and gender equality. So I'd like you to just touch on those. What is the difference between the two, and how can we drive the culture in our different organizations?
Gender equity and gender equality. My goodness. So the first thing is, I would say just desensitizing oneself from thinking of the two as different. Access warriors are access warriors. It doesn't matter whether you're male or female. And the more you reward positive behavior that highlights that fact, that once you're a warrior, the more it will become a part of the culture. There's no, maybe because my experience is purely Access Bank in this way, so I just cannot relate to women being treated unfairly or treated differently. Performance is all we know, and performance is all any organization should know. And as long as you're performing, you will rise. A friend of mine told me about a place she worked where they had a women's only team. Now, these women had to be mothers, and these women had to be in sales and marketing. Now, these women were consistently the best performers in the organization. So they outshone every other department within this company, and they always made targets. Now, how did this happen? They supported each other. Where one couldn't meet up, her colleagues helped out. So they knew that you had flexi time. All they wanted to do was say, you know what, just deliver. That's all they had to do. So from 9 till 2, they worked, and they worked bang out, go hard, right? At 2 o'clock, you can go pick up your kids, you can go to ballet recitals, you can go to football, whatever it is. Then when the kids have gone to sleep, you now do your admin stuff. Now, I'm not saying that approach would work in Nigeria, but it could. And you find that a lot of women wanted to be in that group because they were high performers. It's something to look at. But back to your question about equity and equality, as long as you look at a human being as a human being, fairness, first woman, whatever, all that just falls to the wayside, and you're dealing with employees of an organization trying to do the best they can do.
Amazing. Thank you so much. So just look at human beings as human beings. No male, no female, strictly by performance. Strictly by performance. Thank you so much. So we'll go to the online questions now.
Learned so much. This question is actually to Mr. Amechi, and I've heard a lot of conversation around this. I remember there was a time I was in a meeting, and I heard that men, they support one another. Like when you see them stand up, you naturally get the support from them. But women, sometimes we're dragging as to, do I need to support this person? There's a little bit of sentiment around it. So this question to you is, there's something called the Boys Club, a sort of network among men to promote their interests or help each other in their careers. Do you think women are having a thing or two to learn from the men in this regards or any other regards?
So first of all, I love this question. There is a boys' club. There is. I mean, it's not right, it's not fair, but fair is for children. So it does happen. Is there a women's club? Should there be one? No, there isn't. And yes, there should be one. I know a lot of situations where, and forgive me for saying this, women are often their own worst enemy. Women could do to support each other a lot better, definitely. each one teach one shouldn't just be a cute saying. Because sadly, and don't quote me on this, as far as today, 2020, and the world is concerned, it is a man's world. Rightly, wrongly, that's just what it is, right? Now, women knowing this should as much as possible say, okay, you know what? I've identified a talent in Tinuke, Awele, Bella, and I'm going to support her, I'm going to bring her up. I think every woman has a responsibility, both to herself and her gender, but to her organization. Women in an organization add insane value. It's incredible. And I can say this because on my team in Access Bank, I think it's probably about 75% women. So I've really enjoyed the benefit of working with women. So I can talk about it for days. There's no, the value is insane. Women know this. Women should bring up their younger ones, bring up their little sisters, and support them to do more. Now, why aren't they doing it? It's a bunch of reasons that are based on psychology that we can't talk about now. But a reason could be because they worry about the fact that it is still a man's world. Let me not disrupt the flow because I'm in this boardroom barely managing my own. So if I say I want to bring somebody, I might get resistance. Could be that, I don't know. But whatever it is, women have that responsibility and should take it a lot more seriously. Damn the consequences.
Wow. That's a wonderful one. And this is for me just asking this question. So I also hear a lot of, this is more of the men's thing. And a lot of conversation around should women be doing it. How do you think women can get involved in some of the things that naturally is the men's things, what they normally do? How do you think women can get involved in some of those activities? Yes.
You know, we've said what a man can do, a woman can do better. We've said this 1,000 times. Yes, but that notwithstanding, it has to be, confidence has to be learned. Trust in oneself has to be learned. Now, when you're 40, 50, 60, is it still possible? Perhaps not. But the child who is 12, who is 16, who is 18, it is for us men and women to raise these children to be the best they can be. When you go into a classroom, let's say you go to a parent-teacher meeting in your child's school, instinctively, you walk in and you say, hi, boys and girls. Why? You're already telling them that you are different at the age of 5 and 6 and 7. If you walk in there and you say, hi, children, then the girl is thinking, you know what? Of course I can play baseball. Of course I can be an engineer. Of course I can do whatever I want to do. Second thing, I think mothers and fathers, obviously, but mothers need to play a much stronger role in bringing up the younger ones. I'm not saying that I've given up on the older ones, but they're now cement. So let's work on the ones that are coming up. Women have been, a mother raises her daughter to find a good husband. You're quiet, you can cook, you don't express too many opinions, you wait for him to come and feed him, no, you're programming her to be less than, consciously or unconsciously. Now, is that changing? Sure it is, yes. So we need to retrain women from the onset. Boys who become men also need to be retrained. We are trained to believe that the world is ours. Why not women? We are trained to believe that you can be anything you want to be. Why not women? We are trained to, we've been spoiled and, thank God I have a son and I know exactly how I will train him so that he knows that there's acceptable and unacceptable. Every parent should do it. You owe it to your society, you owe it to businesses, you owe it to your economy. So the world of, I'm going to make you a good wife for some idiot. No, sorry.
Thank you so much. As a mother and a woman, I've learned a lot from what you just said, and I see that it takes a lot of deliberate action to do some of those things that you said. Final question from our online audience, and that is to all the panelists. Please, my question is to all the panelists. In helping women navigate the tough terrains, I mean the topic of the session today, do we mean we should afford women a higher pedestal to stand? Are we advocating they have more assistance, say palliatives in their professional journey?
So I think I'll start with, or I'll take it from where Mechi stopped, in the sense that we should just see children as children, and we should see people as people, not man, woman, because the minute we start putting that differentiation in place, the man is offended that, you know, this woman, I have to be careful with her, I have to be nice with her. If it's my male colleague, I'll just tell him, get this done. But then if it's a woman, I have to be careful, and that puts a lot of strain on you know, on the man, in the workplace. It becomes a bit uncomfortable. Yes, it's a tough terrain. I'm lucky and favored to be raising two girls. And I raised them knowing that it's going to be, you know, tough for you to be a wife, a mother, and also a career person, right? At the same time, I don't think mothers would need to be lax or, you know, passive in raising girls. There needs to be a lot more, you need to put in a lot more effort. I always tell my husband that I'm raising girls. I can't afford to, you know, be very, you know, slack in raising them. I need to ensure that they are strong enough, because they're not just going to, gone are the days when you're just raising a girl that just be pretty, you sit pretty. Now she knows that she'll have to, you know, combine a lot of things. Thankfully, we are gifted, we are multitaskers, we know how to nurture. A lot of these things, you know, we're intuitive in our thinking. All of these things come with, you know, God put those things in us when we were made. So good, we can do those things. But we should also raise these children with a lot more, we should raise them with a lot more focus, knowing that, you know, it's going to be tough, you know, going out there. You're not going to get, you know, a pat on your back because you're a lady. Don't expect, there was an instance that happened. My older daughter wanted to play football during sports earlier in the day, and her teacher was advising me against it, that I should please advise her against it. Her favorite color is blue. And she was telling me, no, don't. And I said, no, whatever she wants to do, please let her do it. I think we need to move away from this is a girl, this is a boy. We need to raise people as human beings. Yes, they are passionate. They perform in whatever they find their hands to do. They do it very well. Yeah, for the women, they need to have a lot more stamina, because there's also the school of thought that, you know, women should sit pretty, or I can't handle this is too heavy, this is too tough. When we treat them as human beings, generally, these are people and they're going to work, whether be male or female, then the expectation, you know, is not, in inverted commas, is not like a lot. And then you can allow them be anything they want to be. So for me, I would say that yes, it will be tough. Let's raise them as much as they can, as much as we can. Let's give them, empower them to be all that they can. But at the end of the day, it's not a boy's world or a girl's world. We're raising individuals, we're raising women. Whatever we can do to help them, let us help them. And if they want to be astronauts, pilots, be it male or female, let them be. And then let's move away from the conversation that, oh, a woman is the first to do this. And no. We raise them to be everything they want to be, and they are, you know, well equipped to give, you know, be it male or female.
Thank you so much. There's something you said that I just want to build on. Just in case, you know, we're talking about how we should see our young people, you know, but just in case anybody is already old and is suffering from this indictment, or maybe you right from the start, you've been trained as someone to sit pretty and all. You mentioned at the beginning, I just wanted to point that out again, it's never too late. You know, you can always seek help. You should always get your facts, your knowledge, you know, like we've established on this stage. It's about your performance. So you should be able to get whatever it takes that will help you deliver, whether you're a woman or not. So don't blame your parents, don't blame anyone. Take, like my dad would tell me, take life by the hand and break it, literally. That's what he tells me, so literally I'm going to give my dad's quote, take life by the neck, hand, whatever it is, and break it. Whatever ceilings you need to shatter to get your dreams, do it. Can we just give an opportunity to the online session? Yeah, so hi, Inkiru.
Hi, Phoebe, and great contribution from everyone. But I suppose just in wrapping up, I'd like to take a leftist view, one for which I'm often very bold and confident about. So a lot of people on the panel have spoken about performance and and just come to the party. I think the first thing I'd like to leave everyone with is that there is inequality. And inequality means that the outcomes for both male and female are not the same. And equity is the process for which we achieve an equal outcome. The point I'm making is we've got to first understand that females are disadvantaged, and that is the reality. It's a reality for African women, whether you're in Mozambique or Uganda. It has been my experience that that's what they're experiencing. And therefore, the process of equity, organizations, and for individuals should be one that is giving a lot of focus. So when we make comments like performance driven, that's great, but it's also great for us to understand that a lot of women in their homes and in their individual lives are making contributions, that are debarring them from sometimes achieving the performance that we speak about. And therefore, the process for us, you and I, is supporting them through the processes that deliver equity so we have equal outcomes. And I'm not trying to be academic. I think the simple point I'm making is if an organization can support a female in a way that helps her have the right outcomes, whether it be rearranging themselves through policies or even as dramatic as getting daycare centers in organizations, that's important. And that's a ring I think we should each think about throwing our hearts into. Thanks.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you, Nkiru. Thank you very much. Do we have final words from Elias? Hi, Elias.
Hi, Phoebe. I was just going to, I think, resonate what Inkiru mentioned. So I think during the chat group, there's a statistics someone shared that in PR at entry level, 75% of the employees are women at entry level. And by the time it gets to senior management role, this number reduced to 25%. That's the reality. I know we can talk about performance and the likes, like I mentioned earlier on. There's so many things that is hindering the women growth performance in industries. And you just have to really face this the reality. Like if you get to a business, you becoming a director, becoming a vice president, there's some requirements that it's expected of you, for example, regular travel, being away from the home. These are the needs of the business. And what is really important is organizations to put things in place such that women that are advancing their careers into this senior leadership can still be able to deliver on the family needs, expectation on kids, and at the same time organizational needs as well. So that balance needs to be there. And I think that is really what is really the miss in most organizations, that's why you see people drop off by the time they get to mid careers, because the organization doesn't support that growth potential they have for them as women. By the time they go for maternity, by the time they come back, someone has already been promoted into their role, and how do you expect the person to grow? So such things need to be addressed, and it's the reality. So even if you're performing, you also need to, put in place structures where it encompasses what the women go through, and I think that's the conclusion from my end. Yeah. Hi, Phoebe, can you hear me?
Yes. Thank you so much, Elias. Thank you for that. We have one more online question, and then we'll wrap up.
Statistics for women in PR shows that 70% entry-level positions are occupied by women. That number reduces by middle management and by senior management. The number reduces to 25%. What happens in the journey between junior and senior management? That's the question many organizations need to answer. That's the question many organizations need to answer, which is what happens in the journey between junior and senior management in the office.
to him. So for me, I think that, and I'd say this is my personal view of it, is there are two things. There are two kind of factors that affect women, such that they get midway and they give up based on maybe internal or external issues that arise. But I don't think it's also based on the organization alone. It's not just the organization that carries the burden of, okay, why don't you have more people in senior management? I think there are also some internal factors that holds back the lady. And I think the panelists spoke, our online panelists said shortly that, sometimes our outcomes are not the same. You find a male and a female, counterpart. And then in the course of their career, you see that, okay, this guy is able to perform much more than this woman. Although this woman seemed like, she has more to bring to the table. So, but like we've said, all through the last hour, is that there are several factors, be it society, be it culture, sometimes family obligations, sometimes, raising children. I've seen some women would raise their first child and then they'll say, I can't continue raising a child and, doing my career. I think I'll do something with business. You see some other women, based on the kind of toxic environment in the organization sometimes where you're being said you're being told no multiple times. They can't bear that and they just throw in the towel and say I don't think I can go on with this. So several factors, be it from the organization and also from the person, the individual, a family, our own confidence, are those things that actually stand in the way that doesn't allow them go far in career.
And I will take this question to you, and that's because we've said that it's the men's world. And what are the measures that you think can help women to thrive in that gap?
I think you need to be tracking these things. You need to track year on year, month on month, what appraisals are looking like, what the future is looking like. When you have an appraisal, you're asking people, for example, where do you see yourself? And you put a mentor in place to help this person get to that. So, like I said earlier, it's one thing to say we have an initiative, we have the AWN network, we have policies in place, but you need to be actually checking and documenting and measuring yourself against past performance. If it's as simple as you get every woman who is a high flyer and say, we're going to watch you and ensure that you get to where you're supposed to get to. But I want to talk to something that you mentioned and Nkiru also mentioned. We are not the same, unfortunately, because women have external issues that a man will never understand. A man will never say, I have to choose between raising a family and my career. Every woman of substance has had to make a choice at some point. It's nice to say, yes, my husband is so supportive. But at some point, she's like, you know what? No. So if society, you mentioned paternity leave. We have paternity leave as well. Raising a child is a man and a woman's responsibility. So there's nothing that says it must be the woman that gives up her career. Secondly, if you have a man and a woman, husband and wife, and the woman, her career path looks like it's shinier, brighter, and she's projected to advance a whole lot more, and the husband isn't, the conversation should be, okay, you know what? We want to raise our children in such and such a way. Maybe the man should be a house husband. No. It's funny as hell, and it's certainly not African, right? But how many women in here are breadwinners? So it's already happening. How many husbands have not worked in 3 years? Meanwhile, they come out in white and white, looking, not offensive, but no, sorry. But they come out looking resplendent and they're golden, right? But the woman is paying for school fees. The woman is buying generator diesel. The woman is doing everything anyway. So he's a house husband, except that he's cool doing it. So that conversation must be had. If your wife looks like she's on the path to be the CEO of Shell or Access Bank. Let her fly. For real. But these are tough conversations that talk to the external aspects that make women, that make it difficult for women to rise as they should.
Thank you so much. Hi, Elias.
Can we unmute? Okay.
Hi, Phoebe.
Yeah, so we just wanted to hear your contribution as well regarding this particular question.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely. I think I mentioned it's on the spot in terms of having the support, and also that discussion needs to happen. Like I mentioned in my first address, I mentioned the fact that, and one of the key things everybody should go through at the beginning of the career is to have a very clear path in terms of the growth potentials. So what do you want to be in the next 5 years? What do I want to do? Do I want to become the next CEO, and what path do I need to take? And you put everything into consideration, family, everything, and also talk to the partner. In this case, we've seen women having to let go of the career because of family needs or that. So that discussion is something that needs to be done both at the organizational level and also at the private level. And in addition to that, there also has to be that willpower of development, because even for the guys that also grew up, that were able to also rise in the career, it just didn't happen. Even though everything supported them in terms of organization or family, there's also that personal growth potential as well that is there. So that drive also has to be there for all folks that want to climb the ladder to become the next senior VP or the next president. So that goal has to be discussed right from the beginning of the career, and that vision has to be clear in terms of what they want to achieve. And they talk across with all the stakeholders, their mentors, the husbands in this case, or the leaders, and they have clear action plan for them to achieve that, such that if any external forces come, that wants to derail, they have clear, gap closing plan to close that the target, and they can continue rising as planned.
Thank you so much, Elias. We need to have these conversations. We definitely need to have these conversations with our families. I think from what everyone has said, it's possible to be a great mom, a great wife, and a CEO of a global organization at the same time. Yes. Okay, so can we have one question from the audience here, and then we will finalize. Just one question. Okay, so if we have no questions, I think we can wrap up. Thank you so much for having us. Thank you. Amazing session. Thanks to the panelists.
Yes, you will. But before you leave, we'll be taking a photo session with Joshua Ajayi, that's the CEO of Brand Communicator. Yes.
Sweat beats, feel me, Cupid shot me, heartbeats racing, tap me, try me, feel so exciting, thought of Ali.
Can we give our panelists a round of applause, please? That was a wonderful session. I just hope that we can take this conversation outside this gathering today. Yeah. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We move on to the next item on the agenda, and that's the convener's message. Join me as I welcome Mr. Joshua Ajayi to deliver the convener's message. Thank you.
All right, we want to really appreciate everyone that has been with us both offline and online, and it's time for the award session. It's a great privilege for us to have this class of respected marketing professionals in the house today, and of course, joining us also online. We want to say that this selection process of the WIMCA Awards is unique in its own class. The selection process is done by seasoned marketing and communication professionals, and it's one of those few awards, like we always say, that is not for sale in the marketing communication industry. Over time, people have reached out to us that WIMCA is probably one of those awards that people, they don't receive, that they receive notification and not receive like a monetary donation request over time. And we want to say that we want to keep up with that, for as long as this platform continue to exist. We believe that women deserve to be celebrated in the marketing communication industry, and a lot of women that are doing quite a lot are under-celebrated, and a whole lot of them are also unrecognized. And of course, apart from those women, we have also a good number of organizations that are empowering women, that are female friendly, that will be celebrated today. And it gives us great pleasure to have a lot of those women, both online and offline. So it's my pleasure to welcome back the compare as we take the award session right away.
Be on standby. The first awardee, Corporate Communications Professional of the Year in the fast-moving consumer category, and that is Victoria Wadoka. And she is a Corporate Communications Manager, Nestle Nigeria PLC. Nestle Nigeria PLC. Please, can you join me to clap for this respect we call them?
I think she's not available, so we'll move on to the next award.
And the next award is award for Outstanding Female Marketing Professional of the Year in the fast-moving consumer category, presented to Bumi Adeniba, Marketing Director, Home Care, Ghana and Nigeria, Unilever Nigeria.
All right, I think she's ably represented.
Can we have
So can we have Mr. Victor Afolabi, the Group CEO of GDM Group?
See my guy, take a cheap pill. It's my baby, not the real deal. No be the one where you feel steal. No be the ones where they rush you. My baby, no they wear bomb. I see this, so now follow come. All photo, no be Photoshop.
Thank you very much. And the next award goes to Award for Outstanding Female Corporate Communications Professional of the Year in the IT and Telecom industry, presented to Chineze Amanfo, Lead Public Relations, Nine Mobile.
Go send you figure where you go, Maya. Wells Fargo near me, I go run now. Yeah, Shana, you want go, yeah, my babe. You know the fear face. When I be say you don't goody, I be you chop place. Oh, wow. If not play, make you stop, Papa, so I know they take out. Yeah, cause I be bad chap guy, I know they fake out.
An award for Outstanding Female Creative Advertising Professional of the Year, presented to Temitope Jemerigbe, Managing Director, DKK and Associates Limited. Okay, she's not here. Award for Emerging Female Creative Advertising Professional of the Year, presented to Nike Odutola, General Manager, Southern Africa, Extreme Ideas Limited. Do we have her here? The next award for Outstanding Female Public Relations Professional of the Year to Caroline Oguma, Executive Head, Corporate Affairs, MultiChoice Nigeria.
Okay. I think Caroline is ably represented by the PR manager of DSTV. Please, Mrs. Ayodele Otujirin, please, can you join to present this award? Yes, so you can just be in the middle. You can be in the middle, yes. So.
The next award is the award for Emerging Female Public Relations Professional of the Year, presented to Tolulope Olorundero, founder, Mosron Communications.
Okay. Ms. Ayodele, please, you can still join us. You can still join us to present it.
I need to have you.
Yes.
I'm wearing a body, I'm rocking a body. I depend on me if I wanted the watch I'm wearing a body, the house I live in a body, the car I'm driving a body. I depend on me, I depend on me. All the women independent, throw your hands up at me. All the hunters making money.
Award for Outstanding Female Out of Home Advertising Professional of the Year, presented to Khadija Okonu Lamidi, founder, CEO, Slice Media. She's not here.
She's not here yet.
And the next is award for Outstanding Female Media Independent Professional of the Year, presented to Yetunde Adegbite, General Manager, Postoscope Nigeria. Female digital marketing professional of the year.
Kini di dummy yẹn ìwé tí mo send ẹ torí ìsàlẹ̀ ibi tó kọ orúkọ àwọn pípín yẹn sí yẹn.
Award for Outstanding Female Creative Director, Advertising Director of the Year, presented to Simisola Hughes Obishason, Creative Director, Leo Bernard, Lagos. Okay. Next on the list is award for Emerging Female Digital Marketing Professional of the Year, Omokende Thomas, Group Head, Red Wolf Company.
She's not been able to join.
Okay. Award for Outstanding Female Sustainability Professional of the Year, presented to Omobolanle Victor Lanion, Head of Sustainability Access Bank PLC. Next award to award for outstanding.
Mr. Victor and Mrs. Ayodele, thank you so much. We appreciate you. Can we have Dr. Tola Elatui join us on stage to present this award? And then can we also have Mrs. Yetunde Adegbite to also join us to present the next set of awards?
Award for Outstanding Female Marketing Professional of the Year in the Financial Technology category, presented to Cherry Eromosele, Chief Marketing Officer, InterSwitch Limited.
All right.
My woman, my everything. My woman, I go feel by you anything.
Award for Outstanding Female Brand and Marketing Journalist of the Year, presented to Udeneji Daffin, News Reporter, Pilot Newspaper.
Waiting for you was never too late. Remember that you want the food in on the plate. I love it indicate and it is so concrete. And we never lose faith.
Award for Outstanding Seasoning Brand of the Year, presented to No Seasoning Cubes, Unilever, Nigeria.
First thing, any money, medicine. You want me everything, everything, everything. No me woman to me, you mean everything. My woman.
Award for Outstanding Hair Care Brand of the Year, presented to Darling Hair, Godreg Consumer Products Limited.
Send me girl finer, more than Diana. Other China. Oluwa designer, me love her liner. No man can find her, she love me, for me, no one reminder. Say you love, give me joy. I'm so proud to be your baby boy. You're such an amazing toy. Me promise you, girl, you're
Award
gonna
for
enjoy.
Standing Female-Friendly Bank of the Year, presented to Access Bank, the W Initiative.
I'm in love with plenty women. I know my money, all of them. It no matter the shape or color. I go make sure say I must collect. I get one will be my sponsor. I get one where they call me honey. One where they do me winchy winchy. She they do like patience or so. Wale, color. Get in my room, make you lock down. Body they move like a python.
Award for Standing Female-Centric Foundation of the Year, presented to Felis King Foundation.
Love with the boost in my iron. I too like woman. I too like woman. Me I know they borrow. Me I know they borrow. I too like woman. I too like woman.
Award for the Most Outstanding Female-Friendly Brand of the Year, presented to Darling Hair.
Too many girls in my DM. Uganda to London to Benin. I pray make
So
I
we move on to
nobody
the final award. That's the final one. Yeah, we move on to the final one for.
All right.
Lifetime.
Okay. This final award is actually the Lifetime Achievement Award. And to help us present that award, I would like to invite Mr. Amici Okobi. I usually call him the tallest man in the marketing communication industry in Nigeria. You know, he's I'll look like a dwarf beside him.
What do you want me to say if I move them?
Okay. All right, and of course, I also like to invite I would like to invite Ms. Ayodele Otujirin to also come on stage. So this award is going to be presented virtually. Ms. Omomi Oduni is currently not in the country, but she's going to speak with us virtually. And then my ogas, like I call them, they will help us just present the award for the picture purpose of this award. So please, can we have the plaque for the Lifetime Achievement Award?
That's to Mrs. Mawumi Owodoni for her role in creating and sustaining a thriving marketing communications business at the Women in Marketing Conference and Awards.
Okay, just before we present the award, can we just listen to her and then we can take the pitch? All right.
Everyone, and welcome to WIMCA 2020 Awards, a very unique and special edition of the awards. My name is Mawumi Owoduni, and I'm being nominated for the award of Lifetime Achievement. I must say it came to me as a very, very pleasant surprise. I'd won an award in 2014, same WIMCA, and when I was considered again this year, I thought, wow, it's been a long journey all through the advertising and marketing communications industry, over 30 years worth of it. But I must say that I am grateful to God. I am very, very grateful to God for having seen me through all the years and all the challenges, all the ups and all the downs. As a woman in marketing communications, it hasn't been a smooth ride, but it has been a totally rewarding one. And so I dedicate this award to all the women in marketing, communications, and advertising. I dedicate it to my family, and mostly I dedicate this award to God, who has been faithful throughout all the years. God bless you all. Thank you so much, brand communicator.
All right, Ms. Omomi Oduni is practically one of the first female creative directors in the industry. And she has succeeded in breathing so many marketing communication professionals. A lot of them are now group CEOs of, groups of marketing communication agencies. I remember speaking with the current president of the International Advertising Association of Nigeria, International Advertising Association, the Nigerian chapter. That's in the person of Dr. Tunji Olugbodi, who told me that Ms. Omo Omioduni recruited him into the industry. And you can imagine what she has become. And she has trained a lot of creative directors in this industry, but she's way under-celebrated. And this award going to her, we want to see it as an encouragement to a lot of other women to aspire to greater heights, and to realize that there is no form of limitations for them whatsoever, that if they can think it, they can be it. So, Ms. Omo Omioduni, checking us online, we're presenting this award to you today. The photograph, all right, just for the purpose of the picture. Okay, I think you should be in the middle.
Waiting again. If I leave you to one of the boys online. I feel crazy, I feel buy, I feel die. If tomorrow come, you know they my side.
Thank you so much, Mr. Amechi, and thank you so much, Mrs. Ayodele Otujiri.
Yeah, and that's it. We move on to the final thing on the agenda, but before we do that, I think there's a need to exercise. So I'm going to hand over to the DJ to give us maybe 1 or 2 minutes. Let us shake our body. DJ, I'm waiting for you. And then
You don't talk too much, but you don't talk too much. You don't do too much, but you don't do too much. And if I
Thank you very much. Are we still together, please? Thank you. Hello to everyone online. The event is over already, but I'm sure we must have had a very wonderful time. We tried as much as possible to keep to time. Thank you guys too for joining in. I want to say a quick thank you to all our sponsors and partners. I want to say thank you to Stanbic IBTC. I want to say thank you to Darling Invent Media, Elevate Media, Avalini's Slice Media, Domino's Pizza, of course with Cold Stone Ice Cream, Alpha and Jams. Also a big thank you to all our panelists and our speakers. Thank you for coming through for us all the time. Congratulations to all the awardees. You can be sure that you're role models that most of us look up to, and we can only hope that you keep the flag flying. Thank you to everyone here on ground. We say a very big thank you to you. Of course, WIMCA 2020 is done, and we can only look forward to WIMCA 2021. It promises to be a very fantastic one. Thank you to the technical crew, everyone that has worked with us on this. We say a very big thank you to you. And of course to the team that has worked with me again this year on this. I'm sure you guys are tired of me, but of course you can't be tired. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate all the efforts. We look forward to 2021, and I can only say it will only get better by the year. Thank you guys. So, Mr. DJ, you can give us all the boogie I want to do some more money to start on your bed for you. I need to be. I want to do some more money to shoot your room. I need to be. I know I just want to see because I'm just too much. I'm all alive. It's a quite got to my head, say me like the night. I go tell and say I spend all of my money on you. Spend a couple of million on you. Stretch out that feeling that you when I'm with you. Money and things out there I do it too. I want your address so later on body too. And let's go. I'm beginning to fall in love. I'm gonna get to fall in love. I'm beginning to get to fall in love. This time it's supposed to be one day. You are the last one. I say you know what you down, girl. Go down, down. Hear the sound, girl. Down. I'm in love.
love, oh. I said I'm in love, oh. Love, oh. Baby, let me cover you. When you stand, I'm under you. Oh, na 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 na. Nice to meet you. Betty Butter, say you can have my daughter. Make we link up later. Betty Butter, it go shock you like pizza when you go see the wire. Which one to say? Which one to say? You know if you trust person like me like that. Yeah, so tell me how I to know what to say. Which one to say? You know what can't give me your heart. Baby, I'm never letting go. Nice to meet you. Betty Butter. I am not a vampire, but I will spray you all out. My is dripping water. Nice. Mulatto, better, to be real nice. Loving fire. That to my son, I'm a loving girl. So which one we say, you know, be just person like me, like that. So tell me, how I like to know. What you say, you know, give me. I know feel move until I see your light. I cry a river if I feel it twilight. Baby, my love, that baby. Say now your cruise, I like. Show me that you're miracle tonight. Take me higher, you wanna feel alright. If I come body, baby go say you the totally. And I don't want to be bother. But I want to know if you show me. If I come body, baby go say you the totally. I don't want to be bother. But I want to know if you show me. One day if you see the mommy, a royal majesty, we you will find like this. So I stay with me. I say one name if you see the man, a royal majesty. A majesty, you will find like this. You will find like this. He's supposed to be I promise to kiss you before you wake fine, up again. Watch your love for like it. Why not more than your body, you got it. Push it in my dick. Kabalo, see it, you look at. Why now, what did you? Tell me what's in your body. I'm a damn easy, baby. I don't give me control. If you want to get hurt, I'ma make up my eye. I'ma need that and I go my eye. I'ma need that and do maybe. I don't money very long. Do maybe don't go body better. Do maybe let one of these see on yeah. See on baby. Collect, wale, wallet, makam, body to correct. Oh no, any man don't forget. Only go collect, wale, wallet, makam, body to correct. Say she love me, you love it. Why they for Benzema? Why you want it all and sensima? This kind of see the dance I'm doing, this thing you doing. Why you wanna do me wrong thing? Shut up when I saw you. Why you they do me something? Why you they do me wrong thing? Shut up when I saw you. Why you they do me something? Collect, wallet, wallet. Makam, body to correct. Oh no, any man don't forget. Only go collect, wallet, wallet. Makam, body to correct. Say she love me, you love it. Why they for Benzema? Why you want it all? Kind dance, you the dance. I'm doing the singing, you doing the dancing. Benzema. Why they for Benzema? Why you want it all? Benzema. This kind dance, you the dance. I'm doing the singing, you doing the dancing. Benzema. Baby, chama na man like a joke. Get down, the back when I'm on me, I know. And you go, When you go talk to the Buga, oh, your Guru Karewaka, baby, I deserve an answer. And now your body be the answer, girl. When you go talk to the Buga, oh, your Guru Karewaka, baby, I deserve an answer. And now your body be the answer, gone. Yo, Bobby Kelly, the things you do, they shock my head. Show you the feel, the border to my myself. I hope so you see, the things that they do make you come out to my head. But you know me, can you come bam, so you there bam. Ojoro, baby, my ojoro for me. Ojoro, baby, my ojoro for me. Ojoro, baby, my ojoro for me. Baby, my ojoro for what I kill a man. Only make I'm stronger. If you do me, girl, they make me stronger. Like oh, your booty like oh. And if you give me chance, I go like be your man. I go take you down. I go buy you silver and gold. But now you be the coco. And yeah, love me the buga. Oh, your guru kare waka. Baby, I deserve an answer. And now your body be the answer, bro. When you go talk to the buga. Oh, your guru kare waka. Baby, I deserve an answer. And now your body be the answer, gone. Yo, ojoro. Baby, my ojoro. Baby, my ojoro for me. Ojoro. Baby, my ojoro for me. Ojoro. Baby, my ojoro for me. Baby, let me give the love in the sleep of my eyes, oh baby. Yeah. It's rosy. And it's all the love we have for you, my baby. Just rosy. When you go talk to the buga, oh, your buga waka. Baby, I deserve an answer. And now your body be the answer, bro. When you go talk to the oh, your buga waka. Baby, I deserve an answer. And now your body be the answer, gone. Yo, ojoro. Baby, my ojoro. Ojoro. Baby, my ojoro. Ojoro. Baby, my ojoro. Ojoro.